She began her career acting in the small neighborhood theaters of Chicago before entering the New York theater scene of the late 80s. Television soon beckoned, and audiences began to take notice when she joined the cast of The Drew Carey Show as Carey's girlfriend, Nikki. But it has been as Dr. Addison Montgomery on both Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice that she has truly captured the nation's attention. Outside of acting, she is just as busy. As a businesswoman, she has launched her own fragrance called Boyfriend. As an activist, she is a spokesperson for the Narcolepsy Network, served on the board of Planned Parenthood, and is working with the Ocean Conservancy group, Oceana. Hello, I'm Ernie Manouse. Coming up on Interviews, our conversation with SAG Award-winning actor Kate Walsh. What would you say are the most exciting things that fame has afforded you in life?
Wow. I guess the ability to speak out about things that I care about. You know, there's better access to, other projects, and but really, I think more freedom, probably. I mean, and then in some ways, less freedom because, of course, you're more public, and people sometimes recognize me or take pictures of me as soon as I open my door in the morning to pick up my paper.
Was it what you expected it to be? Was success? I know you had worked for many years as I'd say, a working actor.
Yes.
And then big time success hits, big recognition. Was it what you expected it to be like?
No, I think that you can never anticipate it. We have this idea, but that was never the goal, I guess. I just was always thinking job to job, as you say, as a working actor, and there is this whole village of us that are quietly working, and but not on hit television shows or movies. So I was really gratefully and happily working. I was just going job to job, which is what you do as an actor. You're freelance and, kind of a gypsy. So suddenly you get this great opportunity, or I got the great opportunity of Grey's Anatomy, which again was couldn't have been planned. I was supposed to do, 8 episodes. Or 5 episodes, and then be done. And I had another pilot that I was shooting for ABC, a half-hour sitcom, and it was like, well, this was really fun, and Grey's hadn't even aired, and then, of course it did, and then my pilot didn't go, and they asked me to come back as a series regular, and then it was a huge hit. We couldn't have anticipated any of it, and or any of the stuff that it brought with it.
So timing-wise, you came in about the 6th episode, right? You came in a little ways after the
Yes,
beginning.
episode 8 I came in on.
But the show hadn't started airing, so you had no idea the success you were walking into.
No, and the first episode was their last, the last one that they aired, I believe, of the season finale, because they started it. Yeah, but when I came in, they didn't have a name. They kept changing the name, even at table reads. At one point, it was Complications. Then it was Surgeons. I was like, let's stick with Grey's Anatomy, people. I'm just saying, I have a feeling about it. It's catchy.
Could you tell, having worked in all the television work you had done before, could you tell that in the script it was something special, that this would resonate?
I felt it was something special, but here's what I'll say about that. I always feel like
they're all
going to be
great.
The one. And you have to believe that. I mean, unless I've never been a person that's just taken, all right, I'll take a clunker or whatever. Okay, I just need a job. I've always needed a job, but I always found something that I really liked. So, but we always, I think, believe, right up until you're fired or they're like, it's not going. I remember I was doing this show called, I could say it, Men's Room, because we never saw the light of day. We shot 6 episodes, it was for NBC, and it was John Cho and this guy Scott Cohen, myself, and a couple other people. And we're like, yes. And we're shooting that 6th episode, and it's our dinner break, and the producers come in, and we're like, and all we're getting is positive reinforcement and strokes. The network loves you. Everyone loves it. I can't wait. And they're like, yay. And they come in to give us our pep talk at dinner, no, you're fired. It's done. We're going to finish taping, and then you got to pack your stuff up. You're like, what?
You say that, though, that they tell you it's great, it's great. Do you
That's
get to
exactly
a point where you stop believing what they say? When does the realization hit that that's what they say to everyone?
Yeah, it's a strange kind of schizophrenia, though, because you have to believe it because you're doing it. You're like, this is, but then you also have this cynicism of I don't believe anybody. So But with Grey's, I will say, I remember it was kind of like going into, Heart of Darkness or something when I got there, because again, they didn't have a time slot. They had been shooting for several months. They were on their 8th episode. The network kept changing the title. It was all like, they're like, we don't know how long we've been here. We don't know what's happening. And I was like, hey guys, this seems pretty good to me. And then we were showing episodes during lunches, like to kind of keep morale up. To show it to the cast and crew.
Look at this.
Hey, everybody, this exists. So I would go and I went to watch it, and I'm like, this is really, really good. This show is amazing. And so I was actually really sad to leave, like to finish my little run there. I was like, wow, I would love to be a part of this show.
Yeah.
And even though it hadn't aired yet, so.
Yeah. Okay, take me all the way back. So you're the 5th of 5 children?
Yes. I'm the youngest of 5.
Do you think that being in a group of that many children makes you want to perform, to stand out, to be recognized?
I think maybe, because I have a lot of friends that are the youngest of big families that are performers, or they're like, a lot of them are, it seems like only children or the youngest. There's a lot of us, the youngest of, 5 or 7 or 4 or whatever, that, yeah, I think you do. You have this need to differentiate. But I don't think it's conscious as a kid. You're just like, I don't think or you're either left a little to your own devices because the parents are like, look, I've done this 4 or 5 times. You're cool, right? All right, I'll see you when you're 15 and you need to drive my car and get into an accident and our insurance will go. So yeah, but I was also my parents were divorced when I was young, so I also kind of had this only child experience as well in a way. So I sort of like left to go and amuse myself and make things up and. Find something to do, as my mom would always say.
Was it acting per se, theater, film? What was it you wanted to do?
Well, I used to watch old movies with my mom. We'd watch the $1 Million Movie. That was like our little ritual. And I was obsessed with old movies, black and white movies, and had all these crushes on, dead movie stars. Gary Cooper, Spencer Tracy. But I was like, this is amazing, and was really caught up in the stories. And musicals, too. I loved musicals, and Gene Kelly, and I was just obsessed. So I thought, wow, that would be great to do something like that. But I started doing theater, children's theater. That's what I did. I did plays in school, and did children's theater, community theater, and,
A little side note, your 2 brothers are also filmmakers, right?
My one brother is, my one brother, Joe. He's made a feature. We both worked together in a short film, and he's writing and continuing. He works in the industry, and
So is it something in the family blood to be there?
Maybe my sister acts a little, and then maybe. Well, my grandfather, my Italian grandfather on my mother's side, he was an actor. He was in the first production of Damn Yankees on Broadway.
Really?
Like way back when. Yeah. And he would sing light opera. So there was definitely, he was a performer,
Before we leave too much of the way back there, I need to know, so Dairy Queen, huh?
Yeah. Dairy Queen.
Favorite Blizzard flavor? Anything?
Jeez, I was very simple taste, and I still have them. I was never into the blizzards. I mean, I was like, it was actually a newer thing that they were just starting the blizzards. I was like, cool, I made a lot of blizzards, clearly.
Could you serve it upside down without falling out of the cup?
It was all very complicated. But I was a simple, vanilla cone girl, small vanilla cone, still am.
Chocolate dip, maybe?
Maybe chocolate dip if I was really feeling, crazy.
Yeah.
Or the sprinkles, the crunchies. Yeah. My friend's father owns a Dairy Queen, which, when you're a kid up until really now, that's kind of like the jackpot. Like, you own a Dairy Queen? Let's go. So I was like, I can't wait to work there for like $1.90 an hour. This is awesome. I can eat all of this stuff as much as I want. So
How quickly did you tire of ice cream?
It took a while.
It took a while?
We still ate every day, like little baby cups. Yeah. Crazy.
Okay, so when do you go to Chicago? Where does Chicago play into this for the theater scene?
I grew up in Northern California in San Jose, and then we moved to Tucson when I was 11. And I went to school there and went to U of A, and I was an English major, actually, until I stopped because that was my attempt at being practical and not being an actor. I was like, well, I'll be an English major. That'll be really, I'm sure I'll do something with that. So I left and started doing theater in Tucson, actually. There's this great woman that came from Chicago, from Northwestern, named Meg Nolan, and she'd started this theater company in Tucson called AKA Theater, and did like really incredible productions. So I started doing plays with them and then improvising a lot too as an old improv group. And then I auditioned for the Midwestern Theater Conference at Webster College in Missouri, and then I got this great summer stock gig in Oxford, Mississippi called the Festival of Southern Theater. It was all 3 plays in rep. They were all new playwrights. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But before that, I knew I wanted to move. I was ready to go to a theater town. So it was either Seattle or Chicago. I had friends in both places, and I went to visit Chicago before I went to do the summer stock, and I fell in love. I was like, this is great. I can, I was too scared to move to New York for sure. I was like, no way. And then I had a play to do when I moved to Chicago. I did Happy Birthday Wanda June, the only play that Kurt Vonnegut ever wrote, and he actually came and saw it.
What goes through your mind when you know he's in the audience?
I was, of course, nervous. I love him. I was a huge fan. Am a huge fan. So but it was thrilling, with this little black box theater, stage left theater that's no longer there, and
I was in Chicago for many years.
Oh,
so
were
I know.
you?
And the theater scene in Chicago, I think, is just amazing. And
There's
I'm
no
curious
place like
why.
it.
Why do you think it is that way there?
I don't know if it's just that good Midwest work ethic that people are just really passionate about it. I don't know if it's the weather. I used to have all sorts of theories about Chicago. I lived there for 5 years. I'm like, maybe it's so cold here. People are forced to really be nice to each other. There was no one there that was looking to make it. They just want, like, I moved there, I'm like, I'd love to work at Steppenwolf. I never did work at Steppenwolf. But I worked at other great theaters in Chicago, but it was like, you weren't going there to try to get on a television show or to get famous. It was really because you love theater and love acting and love the craft, and you want to learn, you want to be the best you can be and work with great people. So I feel like Linda Lowy is the casting woman who, for Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice, she cast me in Under the Tuscan Sun, and she's married to a Chicago theater actor, Jeff Perry, who plays Meredith Grey's dad on Grey's, but also has been in amazing productions of everything. He's a great actor. But anyway, she has a real affinity for Chicago actors because there's that work ethic and that that real desire, and they're usually really talented.
Did you notice a difference
Except
going
for
to
me.
New York then? And what do you mean, except for you? But did you notice a difference then with New York actors when you go there? Did you feel that they're all waiting for the break kind of thing?
No, still, New York is it's great theater.
Right.
It was just a difference. It is sort of still a small community. But for me, when I moved to New York, I remember thinking, okay, I just put in my time and cut my teeth in Chicago and got my equity card. And I didn't want to do, I was like, oh, it's going to take me a long time to get to know people here and get in the whole scene and the community. And so, and also I think the way my career has gone is I have my plans and then life happens.
Right.
When I moved to, Chicago, I was like, I will do theater and then I will subsidize the theater with voiceover and commercials. I did one commercial in my life. I couldn't book one to save my life, and in New York, I'm like, well, I'm going to go to New York and I will continue to do theater and do independent film. That's how it will go. And it's what happened was I did a downtown theater, the Ontological Theater, did a lot of improv, and then started working in television because that's what came to me.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's sort of been my life. You have your goals and ideas, and then you kind of go with what comes to you.
And it was a good point for you to be in New York with television, because television had kind of left and then was back now. A lot more shows were being shot there.
Yeah, well, and I went out, the first television show I did was an episode of Homicide, and John McNaughton was directing it, and he had directed this little movie called Normal Life. After Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, he did this movie, Normal Life, and he cast me. I was doing a play in Chicago, and they cast me from that for a small role, and then he cast me, then just gave me an offer to play in this guest spot on Homicide, which was great. And also terrifying, because he's the kind of director who's like, well, I hired you to act, go ahead, do your stuff. And I was like, well, I've never done a television show before,
That's what I always wonder about, too. Actors who cut their teeth in the theater and then are on a real television set.
It's totally
all of a sudden,
different
it's like, okay, do your thing.
Totally different medium. And also there's a huge difference between half-hour sitcoms and hour-long scripts. And I literally didn't know until someone said, hey, sweetheart, sitcoms are double-spaced, and hour-longs are single-spaced, because I was like, and that doesn't bode well, because I'm like, it wasn't funny. I didn't think it was funny, so. But it was and it's a whole new skill.
And then you did Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer 2?
That's right.
You
part
got the
two.
sequel.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yes, well, it's a little known fact. It was really powerful.
Yeah, was it?
It was really fun. It was like, my first big role in a movie.
Yeah.
Much to my mother's chagrin. She's like, "Terry, what? Can't you do something more wholesome than a serial killer film?"
Yeah.
I just moved to New York, and I moved back and slept on someone's couch to go do that movie. But Chuck Perrello directed it, who's actually really great, and he was John McNaughton's assistant and then protege, and then started making, and he made a bunch of kind of horror films.
Tell me about hitting the Drew Carey show. When you got there, what did you think was going to happen?
That was a real, kind of Hollywood moment, because I had gone on tape from New York, which that's how I got most of my work. I was working all over. I was traveling a lot and shooting in Chicago and shooting in LA, going back and forth. But I had put it on tape in New York for the casting director, and then they called. They said, "Okay, get on a plane. You're going to go meet Drew Carey and read with him and Bruce Helford, who is the creator and showrunner. And if you get it, you're going to start work immediately. If you don't, you're going to come right back home. So if you get it, you're going to be on for a year." I was like, "Well, what do I do? I mean, they're like, well, either pack your bag for a night or for a month or whatever." So I, hedged my bets and packed for a month, and got the show, got the job. So that was really exciting and terrifying. And I remember right before I was going to do the first taping, and Jerry Cohen, this guy who's great, who's directing it, directed a lot of Drew Carey, a lot of sitcoms, and he turns to me right before, and there's the studio audience there. We're about to do my first, big sitcom taping, and he says, he turns to me, he's like, "Oh, you know how to hold for applause, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." Like, "Yes, thank you for that vote of confidence," right before I go on. But I remember my heart was pounding. And there's moments in life where you remember how nervous you were, and that was like one of the most nerve-wracking things before I made my first entrance.
I read something, I'm going to slaughter this quote, so I apologize, but Grant Tinker's son, who directed Private Practice Pilot,
Mark Tinker, he's our executive producer and directing
said
producer.
You have the skills and talents of Mary Tyler Moore in the comedy, but you add to that all the drama too.
Oh, that's really nice. I call him my work husband.
Yeah.
He's sort of paid to say that. Well, that's very kind. And and this is sort of a strange thing that I really had I've done both. In Chicago, I took like one class at Second City. I did some, I went to Improv Olympic and Annoyance Theater, these other well-known comedy theater institutions in Chicago. But I did a lot of mostly straight theater, trained at the Pavement Theater Workshop. I did Shakespeare Rep and very, very serious, heavy drama plays. But I always did comedy improv and a lot of sitcoms in half hours. So it is kind of odd that I ended up as a serious doctor on a television show. But, Shonda writes a lot of great comedy in her stuff too. But yeah, I definitely, I miss that straight up
Is it hard
comedy.
to make sure when you deliver, especially in a drama, when there is humor, not to play it too broad? Is there a balancing act that you're aware of?
I think so, and I think it helps when when it's in the writing. It's usually in the writing, so there's not big jokes or it's really it's more subtle, and I really like it. I mean, as much as I love half hour because it is the closest thing to performing live, you are in front of a live audience and you get laughs and it feels more like theater, like you do a little play every week, and there's something really satisfying about that. I love the subtlety of a single camera show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have all of this work. You're doing the show.
Yes.
And you also decide to start a perfume company.
Why not?
Why?
I know. I'm crazy.
Because it's not just, your name wasn't just sold, you didn't sell your brand.
No, I didn't license the
You
deal.
actually
I
are
started
involved.
a company. I think that this is how things have happened with me. Like I'm working on a film for next hiatus. This company, when something comes and won't leave me alone, because I think I'm kind of lazy by nature. I work this job on Private Practice, which is about 70 hours a week, and then press and all the stuff on top that goes with that. But when an idea won't leave me alone, then you're like, okay, I have to do something about this. And the this idea for this fragrance, Boyfriend, wouldn't leave me alone. And so I decided to actually kind of do it. And it was this concept I had of, and it was actually born out of a breakup with my boyfriend, and I missed him. I missed his scent, and I was shopping in New York, and I I thought, oh, you know what, who cares? I'm going to go get him. I'll go to the men's fragrance counter and just get a men's fragrance. I don't have to have a boyfriend to have a boyfriend scent. And the little bell went off. I thought, what a great idea that would be for a fragrance, boyfriend, like boyfriend in a bottle. Like, who doesn't like that? What girl wouldn't buy that? And then I kept thinking, actually, of all these little taglines and slogans, like, oh, my mother loves my boyfriend, you know, my girlfriends, all my girlfriends want my boyfriend, even my boyfriend likes my boyfriend, you know, all these little ding, 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 like kind of ads and everything. But I let it go because I was not interested in doing a celebrity fragrance, because I thought, it annoyed me. You know, I've done endorsements. I did the Cadillac ads. I've done plenty of endorsements and still do them. But I always thought, oh, it's so weird to me that somebody just puts their face next to this and we're supposed to buy it, even though that's kind of how it all works, and for good causes and
Right.
that's kind of how it works. But I had no interest in it, and there were so many out there. I mean, there's 1,200 fragrances in the market.
There's 1,200?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then how do you know yours is unique?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is. Anyway, no,
Is it like a fragrance clearinghouse where
yeah,
they tell you,
for,
sorry,
like,
that one's already taken?
No, you mix. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it. It's all subtle, and it's all very individual and personal, and it's pheromones and what you respond to. And olfactive memory is one of the most powerful sense memories. You know, I mean, you smell, whatever, chocolate chip cookie, and you're immediately transported into your childhood and
Yeah.
remember a very personal moment in your life. And it's the same thing with fragrance. So, anyway, I went and I couldn't, the idea wouldn't leave me alone, essentially. And the boyfriend who inspired the whole fragrance was actually a business guy, and said, here's how you do it. Don't do a license. Because I really, and also I'd seen friends that had ideas and products and stuff, and they license it, and they had no creative control anymore or input. Right. And that was really important to me, because I feel like the story of the fragrance is really what it's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And connecting with women. And I feel like I know how to do that, and I wanted to do that. It was important to me. I enjoy that. You know, it's part of the reason I enjoy being on Twitter. I love being able to talk to my
Yes,
ladies.
you're quite the social media person out there.
Well,
From
I've
your
got it.
video blogs and your website and your Twitter, you keep in touch.
I'm keeping in touch. I mean, I also have a really great digital guy, this guy Luigi Piccarazzi, who helped me develop. You know, 2 years ago I didn't have any of this. You know, and Amy Brenneman and Shonda Rhimes were like, "You have to start Twittering." I'm like, "No, that's weird. It's the end of Western civilization. I'm not going to do that." Then I'm like, cut to, "Oh, hey, well, now I'm eating a sandwich. What are you doing?" You know. So
Does it surprise you what the fans are interested in? The tweets that get which reactions? Like, I'm eating a sandwich might get so much more than I've just found a way to end world
food. You know
hunger.
what? Food is important to all of us.
Yeah.
I'm a huge foodie. I love eating, and so I always find that a good food tweet is going to get some response, especially from women. Like, we love to talk about food. I mean, boyfriends and food. What else is there? Oh, clothes.
Back to the fragrance for a minute. What I'm fascinated by is home shopping, and how that's still such a force out there. And I think a lot of people don't recognize how strong and influential
Huge.
that is.
95 million people tune into HSN a year. It's like
Wow.
huge. Yeah, crazy.
And you sold out your perfume. You went on the first time and sold out, not expecting it to be.
Sold out in about 20 minutes, which was awesome. And again, but when I was coming up with the concept, which is the combination of masculine and feminine, it's a men's scent sort of faded on a woman's skin, so it's got the florals and it's got these other notes. There's sandalwood and a little bit of patchouli, not enough to smell like you've been to a Grateful Dead concert, but just a little bit, and then a little amber and vanilla, and so it's got that nuzzly kind of thing that I was looking for. I was trying to put in this bottle, but the concept and the story are what really I wanted. I knew I could talk about that on HSN. And we sold it in the room to HSN and Sephora, because part of my deal with not doing just a traditional licensing or royalty deal, like a celebrity fragrance deal, is that I was like, this is a story that I want to tell continually, like I would private practice or a weekly serial, that I want women to interact with, and that I will be sticking with the brand and creating. There'll be more boyfriends to come, but really kind of staying with it day in, day out, week in and week out, and connecting with women and getting a dialogue going.
Do the boyfriends have names? Is there something into that, or is it all just a
no,
product?
We had thought about that, and I thought, you know what? Some people might have a negative connotation with, Steve. I don't know. No disrespect to the Steves out there. I think you guys are great. But, somebody like, Steve. Like somebody said, name it Chris. Chris's are jerks. I was like, I know a very special Chris, and he's not a jerk. But people, so I was like, no names. Like, I did put it in the design of the bottle, which is custom. I put sort of in this ghost writing on the back, this kind of translucent writing, all sorts of men's names. So
Well, in the
that's
last
part of the
couple seconds
design.
we have left, anything else hanging with you can't get rid of that you're going to do next?
Yeah, there's a script that I'm working on for next hiatus, a comedy for me. So that's in the hopper, stirring it up. That between that and Boyfriend and the television program, yeah.
I've
I'm
talked to a
pretty
lot of
busy.
people who have done series, and they say, when the series is done, I don't want to do another series again. How about you?
No, I would do another series. I don't think I could do. Never say never, but I don't think I could do an hour-long, 22 episode show again.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I think you do, yeah. And I've been so lucky that both Grey's and Private Practice have been so successful, and I'm really proud of the work, and I'm really proud of the shows and the social issues that they bring about. And I feel like that they're both a contribution to the culture, in addition to being soapy and sexy. That there's amazing issues that Shonda's able to speak about and bring out, and the writers, that is incredible. That
Well, we are out of time. As much as I want to ask when you say about sexy, there were questions that came in about how nude did you get for some of your scenes?
No, not very. Everything was all very PG.
Yeah.
And I'm laying there next to Taye Diggs, so who cares anyway?
Life is good. Kate Walsh, thank you
Yeah.
so much. A pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Kate Walsh.
To order a DVD of this or any episode of Interviews, please visit HoustonPBS.org.